Hello again, Core Club members. Hey, we're in the middle of what we believe is one of the most important series that we put out in quite some time. This mental game series, we're hearing from a lot of you, and we encourage those that we haven't heard from to get into it because the stuff is fantastic. We're going to continue with that today. Obviously, Dr. Chris Carr has set the table for us, and we're here in Ed Jr. And now today we get to bring you somebody from the game. And we're rather fortunate because he's in the midst of his cross-country tour, but we got him to come, and always a supporter of Core Club and what we're doing for development and trying to enhance recruitment opportunities for our members. So we appreciate that. We'll turn it over to Ed now, and we'll get started.
Okay, Rob. Hey, listen, members, the emails that we're getting from you, text messages about the series, it's very encouraging. We're going to continue to dialogue back and forth. Keep giving us your examples. We're probably going to do a little roundtable with a few of our members here sometime before the first of the year. But it's very encouraging. And just remember the key is we started, you know the theory, but we got to do implementation. You got to put it to practice, implementation, and know that if you do, the more you use these techniques, the better it will be. So our guest, J.D. Collins, National Coordinator of Men's Basketball Official for the MC2A. I will first say that my first compliment, as I introduced, is his versatility. And last year we had JD on, we talked about development and how people grow and get to a good place. And so when I told him what we were doing with this series, he was like all over it right away. So you're going to be able to get the rules changes and the things and the points of emphasis that he's presenting around the country. But we felt that it was important in his position that he would help us through the series of the mental game, the mental skills. But JD was a D1 coordinator, and he refereed a long time in Division I basketball, including Final Fours, was highly respected in the game as a guy that was very, very consistent in everything that he did, and has been just that since he became the coordinator in May of 2015. A lot of changes, but I think what I see from our folks out there, the officiating community, that there's a lot of hope, that young people put in the work, that there's opportunity, and every year it seems like there's tremendous opportunities provided, and that's really the impetus by which we grow. We want to get the results. We want to get in the batter's box. So, JD, thanks for being with us. We're going to jump into the content here. So let's just start out by, here you are, you observe a lot of games. Now, when you were referee, or even just a guy who was hanging around the Big Ten and you showed up at another game, people were glad to see you, and that was fine. Now you show up and you've got a title and you've got a position. And I would guess that people have maybe potentially a little different reaction than when they know that you're in the stands and you're watching them. And that kind of fits into the whole mental training thing where we are. So tell me how you see all that.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, Ed. You and Rob are kind to do that. I hope that I offer some things today that are helpful to the officials. That's the most important thing. I think it's really funny. I think I saw 180 games last year. Probably 70 on film and the rest, 70 in person, the rest on film. I go to the locker room before every game, introduce myself to the officials, because there is that shock of, oh crap, the national coordinator's here. And that is foreign to me. It is extremely foreign, because I understand it's their one opportunity to have me in their gym, maybe in a 3 or 4 or 5 year period. But I always looked at it when my boss, the coordinator of officials, or a regional advisor, or the national coordinator was in the arena, it was my opportunity to shine. I would bring my focus in and perform at the very best I could and let the chips fall where they may. So the mindset that they have fear, fear is a bad thing. And you and I will talk through this dialogue about self-talk and some different things that we can use mentally. But I always looked at it that if there's a boss in the room, perfect. It's time to shine. And really, whether it's in our business life, our personal life, or refereeing, we ought to approach that model from the same perspective. We need to be happy about it, excited about it, and then focused in on our job.
Well, okay, so follow up on the time to shine. we have a lot of people with us that I call them, they have these perfectionist personalities. And, gee whiz, it's not going to be any good unless I get this perfect. And we know that the last game that you and I saw was not that. And I think that when I started in '66, it was not that. So how do I get people to the point where you were looking at excellence, but boy, let's try to manage that perfection thing, because it can be self-defeating.
Absolutely. And most, I mean, I have perfectionist tendencies personally, and where it affects me is I over prepare. And so in over preparation, I might have been able to do some other things. So I understand the perfectionist model. The problem with that is when that missed call happens and it happens, it's almost as if the game is no longer important. You've messed up this game. It wasn't perfect. And so it's a defeatist perspective. And I think our officials ought to go into a game knowing they're going to miss, depending on the official, they're going to miss 1.75 to 2.5 calls per game. You're going to miss them. So that should be your standard, not a perfect game. Because, Ed, I don't think in your career or my career we ever worked a perfect game. We may have felt really good after some of them, but they weren't perfect. And so I think setting our standard at the appropriate place puts us in a category where we go, okay, I missed that call, but I can return and still have a really great game.
Right. So the mistake recovery strategy. So what was that? The data there was we missed between 1.75 and 2.5. So like 3 at the most. So we missed more than 3. That's probably
if you're missing more than 3 calls a game, now your crew's missing 9 calls per game. That's too many.
Right.
You can't have a good game at 9 calls per game. But if you're missing 1.5 to 2, now you're talking about 5 to 6 plays in a game, and that's pretty normal. That's pretty normal.
Right. Okay. So because we have 3 people working in most cases, and so one of those mistakes occurs with our partner, and there's a lot of reaction, as has many times. Everybody is sideways about this. Now, there's a whole thing that goes through my head. I go to the other end of the court, and I start to process what just happened down there, and now what's going to happen here. And gee, maybe I hope we don't. And then all those things. There's a little voice over here that's a bad one. Another voice over here that's a good one. This bad one starts to take over, and so part of that thing of mistake recovery strategy. Can you address that?
Well, I think, first of all, the Animal House reference is outstanding. It was a movie that I grew up with. So the devil's popping up and the angel, it's awesome. Thank you very much. I think one of the things when you see a partner, now think about it. When you see a partner and he absolutely blows a call, you go to a timeout, you don't want to walk down the length of the floor because you're drawing attention to that official. But if you're in the proximity with him, the best thing you can do is walk up and give encouragement. Because that's what that official needs. Now, I'm talking about a blatant miss. I'm talking about we absolutely missed this call. A 50-50 play, you know what? He may have got it right. So you just do your normal operation. But as the off official, I think we can encourage our partners, hey, next play, next play. And for me, Ed, we talked about this on the phone. I think the mistake recovery process includes understanding that you've got a pregame that's 20 minutes long, you've got the game, then you've got postgame. And you can mess all 3 of those up. Yep. You can do some things in pregame that just absolutely mess up your game relative to interpersonal skills between coaches. I spent too much time here. I didn't spend enough time there. So you have to have in your mind what your roles and responsibilities are during that pregame. During the game itself, you have to take the 40-minute game and break it into 4-minute segments. And you have to succeed in those 4-minute segments. And if any one of those, you're in the third 4-minute segment and you miss a call, leave it in that 4-minute segment and move to the next 4-minute segment and get those plays right. And most importantly, if you do miss a call in the second 4-minute segment, it's at 14:42. You just don't go, I missed that block charge play. In your mind, you say, I missed a block charge play at 14:42. So that when I get to halftime, I can say to the guys, at 14:42, I had a block charge play. I think I may have been straight lined on it. What did you see on the play? You can obtain information, and half the time they're going to tell you got it right. And you've been thinking about it for the rest of the half. You got to stop thinking about it. And a way to do that is kind of put a check mark in your brain, play, time, move on,
Right.
next 4-minute segment.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I like the segmenting the game. That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
I like that a lot. I have to tell you, we did a thing with the late Ken Ravizza, and he showed a video with Evan Longoria, and he showed a process of delete and reset. And his was step out of the batter's box, breathe, look at the left field foul pole. That was the delete. Then he stepped back in the box, move on. There's we talk to referees sometimes. They say, "What do you do?" Well, I can look at the top of the backboard. You know, there might just be a physical thing where I can visualize. That's my delete. My reset is the next 4 minutes. That's very powerful.
I'll add 2 things to that because you bring up a really good point. So you're now at the end of that 4-minute segment. You're at a timeout, and most of us will take that opportunity just to relax and take a breath. Well, if you're going to take a breath, do breathing exercises. Do breathing exercises where you literally breathe in for 3 seconds. You hold it at the top for 3 seconds. You release for 3 seconds. You hold at the bottom for 3 seconds. And you do that 3 or 4 cycles, and your heart rate will actually come down multiple numbers and bring you back into a space where now my next 4-minute segment is beginning. While you're doing those breathing exercises, the other thing that you can do is typically when we miss a call, we start to tunnel in because everything is about us and we tunnel in. And if we'll take the opportunity to look at all 4 corners of the gymnasium, the very top row, find something there that you can identify, and it will open up your vision, and it helps you process through to the point where you can get to the next 4-minute segment. And it's all about focus.
Yeah.
If we walk out of that, I missed the call segment, and our focus is too tight, I can almost guarantee you we're going to miss another one.
Yeah.
So we
That's
really
tremendous.
open our eyes and reduce our heart rate so that we're at a place where we can, and Rob certainly heard me say this, our job is to absorb chaos, create calm, and provide hope.
Absorb chaos.
Absorb chaos, create calm, and provide hope.
Yeah.
So if we're absorbing part of that because it was our fault, somehow we need to mark that and move on so that we can bring calm to the game. And the hope, of course, is for the coach that we're not going to intentionally err in the last few minutes of the game. But we have to do our part to be ready for that next 4-minute segment.
Yeah, tremendous. Now, Bob Tewksbury's book, 90% Mental, has a whole chapter on breathing. And it's just what you said. It's a segment of breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Intentional, by design, what you do in breathing. And, that's a big part of sport.
It sounds crazy. I use it when I'm driving because I lose my mind. I used it in the boardroom when I was in a business setting because people would be saying things that would really upset me. I used it in basketball when the attention and the intensity was coming at me, and it just puts you in a calm place where you can perform at your very best.
Yeah, I love it. That's the thing with special teams, kickers. All right, so let's talk about for a second the factor, the partner factor. So you bring this guy in from Sacramento, and he's in the tournament, and he's excited, and boy, oh boy, he's in the tournament. So you got him in a place where maybe he's never been before. Who knows? Maybe Dayton, Ohio, or who knows, Spokane, or one of those places you guys go to. And also, he walks in the gym, and half the people there he doesn't know. He's never met before. So it's a whole big, long list of unfamiliars. Boy, that's pretty tough now. What do we do about that?
Well, I think that whether you're talking about the NCAA tournament, a conference tournament, a guy's first Division I game, you can apply it new level. You can apply anything you want to this. And here's the reality: coordinators do not hire U2s. You hear that at camps? No, we're not looking for U2. They are not looking for a U2. Yes. So if you got assigned a U2, that doesn't mean you have to perform like one. You don't have to minimize your effort. In fact, every night you should referee. You should go out on the floor as if you were the referee, engage the game like a referee, communicate like a referee, manage it, lead it, observe it. You can do all kinds of things as a U2 or as a new official in a new setting to bring strength to the game. And when we start to think about, oh, I don't belong here and all those other factors, we minimize ourselves. Quick story, but I bet I worked 25 games my first 2 years in the Big Ten with Jim Burr and Ed Hightower. Now, these are legends. 16 Final Fours, 12 Final Fours, and I made up my mind the first time I walked on the floor with them that I was going to pull my weight. And I would self-talk, I belong here. I'm the best. I belong here. I'm the best, to offset those negative thoughts that were coming in my head. And then when plays happened, I'd go get them. Sure. And yes, did I have to apologize a couple times at halftime? Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But those high-level officials only respected me more because I took care of not just my third. I was managing the game like a referee would. Yeah. And I think we have to do that no matter what game we're in. And it's probably the greatest downfall of officials. Really good officials find their place and they don't want to get out of their comfort zone. The place you want to be is they are on the game, the leader, the guy who's going to control everything in the game.
I want to make sure our members, that last 3 or 4 minutes is one of the most important things you could ever hear, because so many of you are starting in new places. You just started in the D3 conference for the first time. I get your notes and say, hey, I'm excited, this and that. So, boy, they didn't hire you as a U2. All right, so in that realm, do you see, as a national coordinator, you bring an official in for the first year, that they maybe the second year you bring them back, they work with a level of more confidence, more of an R level than they do U2?
No question. And if I bring them into the NCAA tournament for the first time, when I observe them the next year in their regular season games, they're more confident. Mm-hmm. It's a status level. People talk all the time whether or not the money we get paid to do the NCAA tournament's worth the scrutiny that we're under. But the reality is it's a status level that helps them earn trust with coaches that may not know them. And they don't walk around with an arrogance or a swag. They just know that, hey, I've done well, and I've been marked at a certain point in my career. Now I got to achieve working a couple games or whatever it is. Now, Ed, you told me 17 minutes. And
we're getting close. I want to ask you, though, we're in a labeling world. You're doing great. We're getting ready to wrap up here. We're in a labeling world. And so I'm hearing you say, like, okay, all of a sudden somebody gets a label. I'm a tournament official. And they know, the coaches know that, the ADs know that, their partners know that. It's the same referee, but just more juice inside. Feels more. It's the same thing in the NBA. There's a big difference between how people look at the finals referees and then the referees that work the conference finals, and then those who do not work at all. Okay, we could go on, but in the spirit of the attention span of our members, I want to sort of put a bow around this. Any closing comments on this topic?
I do have. I think that our officials should seek guidance. I'm going to give you a list of those I think they should seek guidance for. If you don't have a mentor, you got to find one. Somebody that you can bare your soul with, talk about core level stuff, be honest, open, brutal. Here's how I'm feeling. Even if it's I'm feeling like I shouldn't be here. Whatever the feeling is, you got to have someone you can share that with. A mentor obviously does that. The correct peers. We all have peers in our business. Let's say we got 100 peers in our business. There's 4 or 5 people in there that you can trust, that you should be talking at a deeper level with. I throw pastors into that category because they're outside the game. They have no way to impact the game itself and your career, but they're really good at listening. And sometimes our life lessons cross over with our refereeing lessons. And I think a pastor is that. I would also encourage a counselor. If you've refereed long enough, you're going to be in the well. You're going to take the dive. You're going to be in the well, and it's going to take a while to get out of it. Seeking out counseling on a regular basis to help you through that and help you during the good times so you don't get arrogant, too proud, or too egotistical is really important. And as you know, in today's society, sports psychologists are a resource that can help us think about things in a different way. And I would be remiss, and when we're talking about mental training, if I didn't share those 6 thoughts, those 6 types of people that can help us get better at what our craft is.
That's really powerful. And I think I mentioned this to you earlier that I felt that our friend Joe Crawford had the best 5 years of his career.
Right.
He started getting regular counseling from Dr. Joel Fish in Philadelphia, and this was 2 or 3 times a month. And he talks about this publicly. I'm not saying it's something that he doesn't say. That helped him kind of keep the train on the rails, and to do the right thing. Okay, JD, in the spirit of 20 minutes, that was pretty daggone good. Phenomenal stuff. I appreciate it very much. On behalf of Court Club, thanks for stopping by.
Well, thank you, and best of luck to all the Court Club members. Thanks for having me on, Ed.
Thanks, JD. Okay.